Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and this is going to be the first of a series of reviews of the books that have been longlisted for the book prize this year. I don't know how far I'm going to get down the list, but I'm going to give it a go. This one was a nice shortcut because this is a book that I have already read. One of the things that I would say about the long list this year is there wasn't much weird stuff. I like a book that's got an interesting hook. So something to draw you in, something a little bit different, something a little bit weird, a premise basically that gets you kind of intrigued and draws you in. I think it might have been The Guardian or The Times, one of the big newspapers was saying that the theme for this year's Booker long list seems to be quietness. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. I tend to like my books to be making a bit of a statement and I do like gorgeous reflective writing, but 13 books in a row, that might be a little bit much. But we don't have to worry with this particular book because here we have a fantastic book, Audition by Katie Kitamura. This book is certainly weird. It certainly has slightly unsettling vibes to it. Felt a little bit creepy, felt a little bit kind of what's going on here. And if you like books that have interesting premises and that will keep you guessing for most of it, and will have you theorising as you go along, but are also weirdly compelling despite minimal kind of actual plot, this could be the book for you. I read Audition as part of Camp Litzy, which is on the Litzy platform, which is like a social media Instagram for book lovers community. And this book was chosen and was one of the first ones that we did this year. And it's the first book I'd read by Kitamura. I have Intimacies, which I think might be a short story collection, but it's another of her books that I have on my Kindle ready to go. This was my first delving into the author and I really enjoyed this. So this is a book of 2 parts. I'm going to talk you through, first of all, without any spoilers, and then I'm going to do a bit of a discussion in the second part of the video. So I will flag that up before I get to it, so that you know when to stop, when to look away, and hopefully if you do decide to give this book a go, then you'll come back and join me for the discussion later. So the first part of this book, we have a woman who I don't think is named. Is the protagonist named? I'm not sure. I don't think it's relevant. But she meets in a restaurant with a young man with whom there has been a misunderstanding. And she's a famous actor on the stage. She's currently rehearsing for a new role, one that is about a play that's in 2 halves that has a kind of transition zone in the middle where she has to do this monologue to kind of transition the play from the first half to the second half. She's kind of doing this role, and she meets a young man who has, let's say, ideas about her that she doesn't think are correct. I'm not going to go into too much detail. There is a misunderstanding between the 2 of them and they meet for an awkward dinner to discuss it. And we're kind of throughout the book we do have a bit of an unsettling vibe. We're not quite sure, something's not quite right. It does have that kind of not entirely clear, not kind of straightforward feeling to it. And the thing I like about the writing and what draws me in is you're very much in the main character's head. You're kind of feeling and experiencing as she is. So you don't just get a kind of beginning, middle, end situation. You've got her thoughts, feelings, and it's all mixed up. Not quite stream of consciousness, but almost. Anyway, halfway through we have part 2, and in part 2 things are different. I'm not going to say how, but things are different, and most people will read part 2 thinking, what is going on here? This is what I thought, what? That's the best way I can describe it. Part 2 is different from part 1, and like, I know that a lot of people have a lot of theories about it. So by the end of this book, I felt it all click together. By the end, I was thinking, right, okay, so that's where they're going with this. And it all fell into place nicely for me, and I felt it made sense. But then I looked on Goodreads and we had the discussion on Litsy, and a lot of people have a lot of different ideas about this book. So although it felt clear to me, and I think I know what the author was doing, there were a lot of other theories and a lot of other takes on the book, and there are certainly lots of greater themes as well. So, you know, life being a stage, general kind of synergy between the play that the author is, the play that the main character is starring in, and the kind of day-to-day roles. It feels, I say, it feels slightly surreal. Even though nothing surreal is happening, there's no kind of surrealism going on in the actual story. It does feel like things aren't quite what they seem. There's a lot of guessing and interpreting and things not being quite right. So if you like a weird book that you'll get halfway through and then think, what's going on here? This is a very interesting take. And has, like I say, I'm sure there is lots of, I'd love to read it again because I'm sure there are lots of other kind of, I think a second reread would probably add more to it. But so I'm probably going to keep hold of my copy and maybe read that again at some point. It's a highly worthwhile book to read, and it made me want to pick up everything that Kitamura has ever read, because I just really engaged with the hypnotic style of writing. It took me into the author, it took me into the main character's thoughts, feelings, and like I say, I do like it when things are a bit unsettling and not quite as they seem. So that's my spoiler-free, that's my spoiler-free review. So if you want to read Audition and you're planning on I'm doing this bit slowly so you have time to press the stop button. I'm going to go into a bit of a discussion as to what I thought the book was about. And I know people do agree with me on this because I've had a few other people who got the same impression. So let's discuss it further. So this is the book where you've got the main character who is an actor, and she is approached by a young man who thinks that he is her son. So he's like, I think I might be your son. I think, you know, you said something in a magazine article that suggested that you'd given up a child. I think I might be that young man. And, you know, it's not clear whether he's, what he wants from the situation, whether he genuinely believes this, whether he's, you know, hustling her for, you know, it's not clear exactly what his motivations are because we only have the protagonist's point of view on this. So he approaches her and she says, that's not possible. I've never given birth to a child. It's not, you know, I'm sorry, you're mistaken. So it's a bit strange that they're then meeting up for a dinner after this initial kind of confrontation. But they meet for dinner and it's all a bit kind of tense and not quite, you think it would just be, mate, not possible, you're mistaken, so, you know, so you're into theatre too, cool. And obviously she's got a lot of renown on the theatre scene. He is a student of some kind and obviously a bit of a fan of hers as well, so there's a bit of a kind of fan undertones there. He then finds a position working for her boss. So he turns up at her work and he's like, well, I'm now your boss's personal assistant and can I get you a coffee? And it's a bit kind of, it's a bit, okay, what are you doing here? It feels a bit stalky, it feels a bit awkward, and it just doesn't feel quite right. And that's one of the things I really liked about this book, the uncomfortableness between the characters. And that's when part one ends. Anyway, fast forward to part two, it turns out they're all going for a meeting, they're all going for a dinner at the same restaurant that they're in at the start, but he's their son. She and her partner and him and the rest of the other kind of crew members, cast members, they're sitting having dinner and he's their son. And you're thinking, what? I didn't think that was possible. What's he doing? What did he get? And it talks about, and you think, oh, maybe maybe they've adopted him as an adult. Maybe this is, you know, what's going on here. But no, they're talking back about his childhood. And he then moves in with the couple. And at first, this is all going really, really well. They love having him around. It's like, welcome back, son. Here's your room. Oh, you've got a lot of stuff. Wow, that was unexpected. But yes, come in, come in. And, you know, over the days, weeks, they start to like having this chap around, and they settle into a relationship. And it's like there's something that was missing from their life is there, and it's all very nice until the son starts taking the mickey a little bit. He starts taking over the living room with his projects. He starts getting a little bit too comfortable. He brings a girlfriend in who changes the dynamic somewhat, and it all gets a little bit like he's taking the mickey, kind of like an actual teenager. So the dynamic changes, and it all gets a little bit too comfortable, and you know, things start to crumble and fall apart with the relationship between them. And then one day she comes back from work and they've all just completely lost the plot. Her partner seems to be like kind of hitting on the son's girlfriend a little bit in a kind of dirty old man kind of way. You know, I think there's some honking going on, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I can't remember. I just remember it being inappropriate. It's like everyone had lost the plot. They'd all kind of just started they're having some kind of party. They're all a bit giddy. It all completely falls apart, and the main character's like, "Get out! Now I remember, you're not my son after all. Actually, hold on, wait up. What's going on here? Oi, clear out your stuff." That's kind of how it goes. And yeah, so he leaves, and they miss him, but and there's kind of that blending of reality. And I thought this was very, very clear. I thought this was very clear that they'd all been fabricating this situation, that it was an agreement between the adults to live like he was their son. That was how I took the book, and I thought that was pretty obvious, and that the deterioration of the situation was due to them all just getting a bit carried away. There's been all sorts of theories on social media about whether this is about memory loss, about whether, you know, there's been lots of kind of different theories being thrown away, lots of the like parallels between acting and real life. Yeah, so fascinating. There's been lots of different takes, and the best way I've heard it summed up was by someone on Litsy. I apologise, I can't remember exactly who it was, but the way they described it was that this young man failed his audition. And the way that Ben Reedsgood described it was, you know, that it's a kind of rent the son you never had situation. So yeah, I think that's how I took the ending to be, and I thought that was just, but the way you get there is so interesting. The journey that the reader goes on for this book is so fascinating. It keeps you guessing, and the title Audition is kind of a spoiler for that, but even after someone said that it was a spoiler, I didn't quite get what was going on until it comes back, and they're all kind of giddy and honking. Things like that. I don't actually know if that happened though. But yeah, this was fascinating, and I would definitely, it looks like, looking in the front, it looks like as well as Intimacies, there are a few other Kitamura books, so I would be very interested to follow their career. She is, yeah, she's a very compelling writer. Yeah, so do I want this to make the shortlist? I do. Because it's different, it's completely different, and I like a little bit of weird. I like a little bit of weird, and like I say, it's not like anything else that I've read before. I'm trying to think of other authors that I would compare her to, and you'll have to leave that one with me because I can't think off the top of my head. It was quite a unique experience. So yes, highly recommend this one. I would give it a solid 4 stars out of 5. And yeah, have you read this book? What did you think? Do you think it'll make the shortlist? Do you think it should have been included on the long list? Please let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to know what your takes are. That's 1 down, 12 more to go. Catch you next time.